think you're healing. You've cut ties. You've deleted photos. You've stopped talking about them. You keep telling yourself that silence means progress. That distance is recovery. But healing isn't about how far you are from the people who hurt you. It's about how close you're willing to get to yourself. Most people don't want to heal. They want to forget. They want relief, not transformation. So they distract, rebrand, perform. They do yoga at sunrise and drink matcha with affirmations. But they won't sit still long enough to face what's actually screaming beneath the surface. They post about peace, but avoid the conversations that would bring them actual closure. They say they've moved on, but you can see the tremble in their voice when the past finds a way to resurface. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's what most of us are doing, avoiding the very parts of ourselves we need to meet in order to grow. We date the same kind of people. We get triggered by the same words. We chase validation in different outfits. And when it all collapses again, we say, "Why does this always happen to me?" But it's not fate. It's your shadow, the repressed self, screaming to be seen. Jung believed in the shadow self, the dark, unconscious part of our psyche that holds all the emotions, impulses, memories, and traits we deny. Anger, jealousy, lust, grief, our unprocessed trauma, our inner child's unmet needs. Everything we've locked away lives there. And until we choose to face it, we keep projecting it onto the world. We find enemies in others instead of owning the war inside. We chase people to fix what's broken within. We repeat wounds and call them lessons. You think you've healed because you don't cry about them anymore. But if they texted you right now, would your heart still skip? Would you still imagine a different ending? Would you forgive too quickly? Just to feel something again. That's not healing. That's abandonment of yourself. Again, you say you're spiritual now. You've let go. But maybe you're just bypassing. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. We wear it on social media. We wear it in relationships. We wear it even in solitude. You say things like, "It was a lesson." It happened for a reason. But deep down, you still feel used, still feel betrayed, still feel unlovable. Healing doesn't come from rationalizing pain. It comes from feeling it fully, letting it break you open and rearrange you. It comes from stopping in the middle of your day, when a memory hits like a wave. And instead of brushing it off, you ask, "What part of me still needs to be held?" Jung didn't believe healing meant becoming good or perfect. He believed it meant becoming whole. And wholeness includes the broken parts. It includes the parts you're ashamed of. The versions of you who begged, who lost themselves, who lashed out, who stayed too long. You can't heal if you keep rejecting them. You must invite them back, not to celebrate them, but to understand them, to forgive them, to integrate them. Shadow work is not aesthetic. It's not a checklist. It's not something you post about with a moody caption and a candle burning. It's sitting in the dark with the ugliest version of you and refusing to look away. It's saying, "I was jealous because I didn't feel good enough. I clung to them because I was afraid I was unlovable. I lied because I feared the truth would make me alone." This is how healing begins, not with a retreat, not with a cleanse, not with a rebound, but with brutal honesty, with radical self-compassion, with accountability that doesn't become shame. Most of us don't need another relationship or another productivity routine. We need to sit in silence until the performance ends, until we can finally admit, I am still grieving things I pretend not to care about. And when we do, we don't fall apart. We fall into ourselves fully, finally. Because healing is not linear, it's not pretty, it's not fast. It's returning to your inner world again and again, not to fix it, but to witness it, to listen, to hold, to choose yourself, even when you're still in pieces. So no, you're not weak for still feeling. You're not behind for not being over it. You're just not numb anymore. You're choosing presence over performance. And that is what real healing actually looks like. Most people aren't trying to heal. They're trying to function, to keep going, to appear okay. You scroll past your past, mute it, archive it, but your body remembers. The tension in your jaw, the way you flinch when you hear their name, how you avoid certain songs, smells, cities. Avoidance looks like strength on the surface, but it is just fear in a more presentable form. Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. So you fill your days with goals. You drown your evenings in distraction. You turn pain into performance, a healed persona, a curated version of self that seems wise, composed, and above it all. But the real you is still waiting, still pacing in the rooms you've locked up. Carl Jung believed in something called individuation. The slow, lifelong process of becoming your true self, not your mask, not your trauma response, not who your parents wanted, not who your ex desired, but the whole, integrated you. You do not become whole by adding, you become whole by reclaiming, by gathering your fragmented parts, the ashamed parts, the sensitive parts, the unlovable parts, and saying, you get to belong too. This is why moving on often feels hollow, because the wound was never seen, just buried. You date new people, but your nervous system still responds to the ghosts of old pain. You block their number, but your inner child is still stuck in that moment they didn't choose you. Do you ever wonder why the same pattern keeps showing up? The same type of person, the same emotional outcome. It's not random. Jung called this projection. We cast our unconscious emotions onto others. We blame them for feelings we haven't dealt with. We fall in love with people who reflect what we lack, then hate them when they don't save us. Healing is not about attracting better people. It's about no longer being magnetized to what's familiar but harmful. It's about choosing peace, even when chaos feels more comfortable. There's another Jungian idea, the anima and animus, the inner feminine in men, the inner masculine in women. They symbolize the emotional and rational forces within us. Most people suppress one side. They either become all softness or all logic. But healing is the dance between both, between the intuitive and the structured, between surrender and action, between nurturing and boundaries. Maybe your healing has been too one-sided, too self-sacrificial, too intellectual, too rigid, too forgiving. Healing requires balance. It's both holding yourself through grief and telling yourself the truth when you're avoiding accountability. Let's talk about the inner child. You think you're mad at your ex. But what if your 7-year-old self is just angry no one stayed? You think you're heartbroken over a situationship. But what if you're just reliving that moment as a kid when your emotions were too big and nobody knew what to do with you? You think you're needy, but maybe You were just never met with consistency, and now your nervous system keeps screaming whenever someone gets close enough to leave. The child in you is not healed by affirmations, not by long captions about self-love, but by consistent reparenting, by showing up when it's hard, by saying, "You deserved care then. You deserve it now. You might think you're spiritual. You might think you're wise now." But Jung warned of the danger of spiritual inflation when people use their spiritual language to avoid true healing. They say things like, "Everything happens for a reason. They were a mirror. It's all energy." But sometimes it wasn't a lesson. It was a violation. And you're allowed to feel hurt without wrapping it in mysticism. Healing isn't a brand. It's not a lifestyle. It's a raw, continuous reckoning with your truth. Maybe the real healing happens when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying why you stayed, why you begged, why you broke. Maybe you don't need another book, another quote, another oracle card. Maybe you just need to sit with yourself without distraction, without filters, and finally say, "I miss them. It still hurts. I don't want to go through this again." And let those truths echo, not to fix them, but to honor them. So many of us are scared to be seen. We crave intimacy, but avoid vulnerability. We want love, but not the kind that forces us to be known. You can't be held until you stop hiding. You can't be loved fully until you stop sending out only the edited version of yourself. Healing is not becoming someone new. It's remembering who you were before the world told you to be someone else. You're not healing if you're still running from your shadow. You're not healing if you keep ghosting your feelings. You're not healing if you're using wellness as an escape from honesty. You're just packaging pain, delaying truth, avoiding the mirror. The moment you finally face it, the whole thing breaks open. Spoke to you. Don't forget to subscribe. I don't post often, only when I have something real to say. Until then, face your shadow.